Former Oklahoma Sooner had this to say about what makes Brent Venables so great.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire, and on today's show, we got to talk about G-Baby stealing the show at the NFL Scouting Combine. Grayson Halton was absolutely amazing on Thursday in Indianapolis. We'll also discuss Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans ducking the smoke once again, but we got to start here with what makes Brent Venables so great. Owen Heineke speaking in Indianapolis about his former head coach, saying, the tenacious personality is what makes him great. He knows how to get the best out of you. It's not always in ways that you are super happy about, but he knows how to have you on your toes, always ready to compete. He also went on to say anything less than that, he's going to let you know. So it was a huge part of my development because as a walk-on, I had to be on my toes every day. If I made one mistake, I was out for the rest of practice, whereas some guys had a little bit more grace. So it made me build the right practice habits, build the right mentality, and I don't think I'd be standing here at this podium without him today. So much of what we see out of Brent Venables sometimes, the screaming, the yelling, the intensity, you look at that and you're like, man, he's a hard-nosed coach, and he's going to ride his players. There are no free rides at Oklahoma. We also know that he cares about the person, that he develops the player. I was having a conversation with my grandma on Thursday. I was visiting her down in Fort Worth, and that's, a lot of why we didn't have an episode on Thursday. My dad had a procedure in the hospital, just wasn't able to get it all together. He's doing great. He's at home. He's doing wonderful. But also went to visit my 91-year-old grandma and was talking to her about Brent Venables and just talking about how he is an intense coach. You see him on the sidelines, you see that big snarl on his face, and he is like, he's coming after you. He's not laying back. He's not holding back. He's going to let you know if you're not doing the right thing. But also what makes him great is that what he's got to say to you, and the ways he's going to coach these players comes also from a place of love, and he cares about developing the whole person. That's the whole purpose of the soul mission. That's all of it. He's talked about being transformational. He's talked about trying to serve the whole person and not just the player. Get these guys in a position to have great futures, whether it's in football or not. He wants to put them on the path of success. And that's why he's allowed to coach them so hard, is because they, one, see the resume, they see the success that he's had at the collegiate level, but they also see the care that he has for them, because coaches that go hard like that, unless they also show you that they care about you, it's easy to start tuning those guys out. I've had coaches like that it was all about what they wanted. It was all about them. It was never really player friendly or player focused. And it's hard to buy in a lot of times to what they're selling. Also, maybe not as successful as a guy like Brent Venables, but that's what's allowed Oklahoma to stay the course and maintain despite having some up and down seasons. After the 2022 season, there wasn't a whole lot of panic, right? They stayed the course. They believed in the process. They believed in what they were building at Oklahoma. So we saw a rebound 10-2 season in 2023. Then kind of things hit the iceberg, so to speak. The Oklahoma Sooners program was full speed ahead, and then all those injuries that took place, and it just was not a good environment offensively, and they couldn't do enough to win enough games. but the defense was still full steam ahead. It like saw the iceberg and ran right through it. That defense did. So that what we got in 2025 was an elite defense that was able to win Oklahoma games, even when the offense wasn't at its best, but still the offense was significantly better than what it was the year before. So the vision has been laid, the foundation, the process, the recruiting, the values, the culture, all of that has been laid in the 4 years that Brent Venables has been there. And it's come from a place of intensity and competitiveness and drive. And you see that in the coaches and their assistants and what they bring to the table as well. This thing is set up well. And it's a good thing that this thing didn't go through a reset, because if they decided to make a change, we'd be going through a whole new culture build. But Brent Venables has that culture laid. The foundation is there and players want to play for him. Owen Heineke talked about the intensity, the tenaciousness, wanted to come back and play another year for him. Dasan McCullough, Dave McCullough, they were there at Oklahoma. They finished their careers elsewhere, or Dave's still playing, but they're not with the Sooners anymore. But their dad, Dylan McCullough, he wanted to come be at Oklahoma with Brent Venables and that tenacious intensity and that effort that he's going to bring to the table to drive this program to success. And I think that's what makes Brent Venables great. There's no shying away from the expectations. There's no shying away from what Oklahoma is and what's come before. There's no shying away from the reality that the only expectation at Oklahoma is to win. And Oklahoma fans, administration aren't going to settle for anything less. And so that's why I was so thrilled that they did go 10-2 in the regular season in 2025. Would I have liked to see them go deeper into the playoff? Absolutely. You get to the playoff and you lose, especially in the way that they lost, you're not satisfied. But then Brent Venables and his staff and the front office staff, they went into the offseason and doubled down on it. They didn't rest on the success that they just had. They said, no, we got to build on that. That's that intensity. That's that tenacious effort that's going to continue to drive Oklahoma to success. They went and they said, hey, our offense, we got to get better. And they went and they got better. Our defense, we've got to add depth because our defensive line is going to lose depth. And they did just that. So, man, I know a lot of folks out there are either out on Brent Venables or still have question marks, and that's fine. You're welcome to have those doubts, but I, for one, am thrilled with the progress that's been made, and I'm excited about what comes ahead because we're already seeing how much of an impact that 10-2 season has had on the recruiting front and had in the transfer portal, because you're able to get big time players with production to come to Oklahoma because you're coming off of a 10-2 season. You're able to get 5-star offensive tackles, Cooper Hackett, Caden Penny, because you have proof of concept with big wins over Michigan and Auburn early in the season. You're able to build a recruiting class that, according to the Rivals industry rankings, is number 1 in the 2027 cycle right now. Number 3 in Rivals standard rankings, but number 1 in the industry rankings, and has a chance to stay up there because they've got big time prospects that are on their radar wanting to come play for Oklahoma and wanting to come play for Brent Venables and wanting to be developed by Brent Venables and his staff. And so that's exciting, man, because they're leaning into everything that Oklahoma is and is about, and unafraid of the expectations and unafraid of the challenges that the SEC is going to bring. And that's why, listen, as furious as maybe we were when Lincoln Riley dipped back at the end of the 2021 season, I think we can seriously say that that was a godsend. It was the right time for him to make the move and bring Brent Venables in, because Brent Venables is not afraid of the smoke, while Lincoln Riley just seems to want to duck it all. And they're doing it once again with some scheduling, and we'll discuss that coming up here on Locked On Sooners. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I've got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy flavor draft. It is that fruity rainbow. It's like getting some fruity pebbles right in my mouth in a quick little shot. It tastes so good and it just hits every single time. It is a great little flavor shot. It gives me a boost with zero sugar. And there are many great flavors coming out with 5-Hour Energy. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. And today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. The biggest stretch of the college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. The hard part is actually getting tickets. Long lines, prices jumping around, and surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. And if you haven't checked it out yet, check out the zone deals. They let you pick the section and save even more while Game Time selects the seats. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you want more Locked On Sooners with less ads, go to lockedonsooners.supercast.com. For $5 a month or $50 per year, you can get ad-free audio wherever you download and listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere that you download and listen to podcasts, you can get them ad-free through the Locked On Sooners Everyday Club at lockedonsooners.supercast.com. Again, $5 a month, $50 per year. You also get an invite to a members-only chat with Jay and I and others of the Locked On Sooners Everyday community. And you can talk with hosts across your favorite shows across the network there as well. So go check that out, lockedonsooners.supercast.com in the Everyday Club. All right, so USC-Notre Dame canceled an ongoing one of the great rivalries in college football because this is just what the Big Ten is doing. The Big Ten does not have any interest in requiring their league members to play for or play a power conference non-conference game. The SEC does, the Big 12 does, the ACC does. All three of the Power Four or three of the four Power Four conferences require at least one Power Four non-conference game. Oklahoma this year gets Michigan. Down the road, it'll be Houston, SMU, Nebraska, Clemson. But the Big Ten doesn't require this. And part of the reason the SEC does require this is because you have non-conference games between teams like South Carolina, the real USC, and Clemson. A big-time non-conference game that's not going to go away. Florida State, big-time game, not going away. Kentucky, Louisville, that's another game. It's maybe not as big time, but it's not going to go away. Missouri, Kansas, those are games that should not go away. They're part of the fabrics of some of these regional rivalries. Unfortunately, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, not on the schedule for Oklahoma on an annual basis. But Notre Dame USC was one of those big time matchups that move the needle every single year. And yet, because the Big Ten doesn't require USC Notre Dame, or doesn't require USC to play a Power Four non-conference game, USC under Lincoln Riley decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to play Notre Dame. We're just going to cancel this long-standing rivalry that's one of the best in the sport, and we're just going to play San Jose State in week 0. That was their answer. Now, think back to a couple years ago when USC had LSU on the schedule, and they tried to duck out of that one as well because the Big Ten schedule is so tough. It's so hard. Oklahoma or USC's first Big Ten game next year is going to be Rutgers. Rutgers. They're going to go 4-0 to start the season. No doubt about it. And I'll grant the rest of their schedule has some tough games on it. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't. It is one that has Oregon. It's got, Indiana's on it. Ohio State's on it. And then you don't know what you're going to get from Washington, Penn State next year. Wisconsin can be sneaky because it's up in Madison. And then you play UCLA in the Rose Bowl. But I mean, at some point, coaches have to be out of this decision-making process. And a game like Notre Dame that means so much to the fabric of college football, it's just a bummer, man, that they're not going to play that. That would be like UT and OU canceling their game. It would be dumb for college football. The fact that Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play every year anymore, or every other year like they used to in the Big 12, it's not great for college football because that's one of those long-standing historic rivalries. We just wanted to play Nebraska at night. Big 12 said no, and that's why we're kind of in the situation that we're in. But at some point, Lincoln Riley is going to have to do something to duck these allegations of being afraid of competition. If he didn't have to play Ohio State or Indiana or Oregon or Washington or Penn State in 2026 because he's in the Big Ten, I guarantee he'd want to get those games off of his schedule. He didn't want to go to the SEC. He wasn't a fan of that move to the SEC. He went to the Pac-12. What he thought he was getting himself into was the Pac-12. And that was a much more favorable situation for somebody who has struggled to develop a defense. And I just look at that and I look at everything that's transpired at USC and sit here thankful that the coaching change happened. And we've got a coach that, listen, we've had 6 and 7 seasons. Can't ignore that. But we got a coach that's not afraid of the expectations and not afraid of the challenges. And I think a coach that kind of embodies more of what Oklahoma is about, the state of Oklahoma itself. Toughness, grit, tenacity, tenaciousness, a work ethic that is going to dive in head first to whatever they're facing and not run at the first sign of trouble. That's what I've seen in the years that I've lived in Oklahoma and the people that I've met. What Oklahoma is about is just that. It's seeing those challenges like the SEC schedule and facing them head on, being unafraid of the expectations of success, being unafraid of the expectations to meet and defeat those challenges and take them and run with them. Like that's what to me Oklahoma is about. And so while there was gnashing of teeth, and hey, listen, I gnashed them on this show way back in 2021. Sure did. It could not have worked out for the better because you've got a head coach that I've not heard him say one thing about conference schedules, non-conference schedules. I've not heard him complain about it. I've heard him just simply say, we got to win games on our schedule. If we win games, we take care of business. The rest takes care of itself. He's not lobbied to get, Clemson off the schedule. He's not lobbied to get Michigan off the schedule. He's not lobbied to get SMU, a rising program, off the schedule. No. He has just taken the challenges as they come and allowed those challenges to help also drive the program to be better every single day. And so Lincoln Riley, this year, you're going to have a chance to start the season 4-0, but you could very well end the season 8-4 or worse with the schedule that you have. And this might be kind of the last opportunity that you have to maintain some legitimacy as a big time head coach. Because eventually you got to go win some big time games if you want to still be considered a big time head coach. I don't know if he ever was considered a big time head coach. He was considered a good head coach, but his reputation has certainly taken a hit since leaving Oklahoma and going to USC. One guy whose reputation is not taking a hit, actually, it's blowing up. That's Grayson Halton. We're going to talk about his day at the NFL Draft Combine coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Coast Pay is giving Locked On College listeners up to $2,000 credit for your business when you get started today. If you manage a crew in construction, HVAC, landscaping, any operation with trucks on the road, you already know how messy gas and materials spending can get. Cards get shared, receipts disappear, and month end turns into a headache. Coast Pay fixes all of that. Coast Pay is the modern fuel card, an expense management tool built specifically for fleets, fuel maintenance, materials, all in one card with real control and instant visibility. Every transaction shows up the moment it happens. No surprises. If someone fuels up at an odd time or tries to buy something outside their limit, you'll know instantly. Get real-time alerts so you always know who's spending what and where. An automatic receipt capture that makes month-end processing simple, and you get fraud protection with employee check-ins by text, no shared pins. It's built for operators who don't have time to chase paperwork, and unlike old fuel cards, there are no contracts or commitments, just smarter expense control. So right now, Coast Pay is offering our listeners up to $2,000 in credit when you get started at coastpay.com/lockedoncollege. Go to coastpay.com/lockedoncollege to see how you can earn up to $2,000 credit. Terms apply. The Coast Visa commercial credit card is issued by Celtic Bank. All cards, accounts are subject to credit approval. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners are about to have a big week at the NFL Scouting Combine, and it was defensive tackles that got the day going with a lot of the agility drills and strength drills and all of that stuff. And Grayson Halton had himself a day. He tested incredibly well. He finished third in the 40-yard dash with a 4.82. He was fifth in the 10-yard split with an unofficial time of 1.7, a vertical jump of 36.5 inches, which was first among defensive tackles, and a broad jump of 9 feet 6 inches, which was second. I also saw somewhere where his vertical jump was third all time among defensive tackles. Crazy, just nuts for a guy that's 292 and third highest at the combine in the last 20 years. But he's 6'3", 292. Just a great day for Grayson Halton. And you're seeing draft analysts across the country talk about how he's really moved himself up draft boards. I've always felt like that he was very easily a top 100 pick and was probably going to push to be closer to a top 50 pick, simply because of the tape. What he does from the interior defensive line position, rushing the passer, that quick twitch off the line of scrimmage, the strength to hold up at the point of attack, the effort, the intangibles, the leadership, the maturity, all of that stuff was going to make him somebody that was highly valued by NFL GMs, defensive line coaches, and defensive coordinators. They're going to love to have this guy on their team. He is a glue guy for any NFL team. And he's not somebody that you're going to pay and then have to worry about, am I going to see this player perform through the remainder of his contract? No, because he's an ascending player. He's gotten better year over year over year over year. He's not reached his ceiling. He's not reached his peak yet. He's just getting better and better. And the last couple of years are proof of that. He talked about it in his interview where he just had to get more consistent. And that was kind of a theme for the first couple of years that he was in Norman, was he just had to find some more consistency. Well, he found consistency and was a breakout star in 2024 and then was a star in 2025 with his ability to rush the passer from that interior spot where He's lining up sometimes as both the three technique, or sometimes as the three technique, where he's lining up between the guard and the tackle, or he's a one technique in between the center and the guard, or he's lining up right over the center as a zero. And he's able to win with speed, with quickness, but he's also able to win with power too. And that's a rare blend. Yeah, Grayson Halton's got a rare blend of speed, power, agility, explosiveness that's going to make him somebody that's very, very successful at the NFL level. And while we're thinking top 75, top 50, he's somebody that I think could go at the beginning of the second round, a team that might be looking for interior defensive line help, but doesn't want to risk him not making it out of the second round. You could see somebody taking a guy like him because he provides instant interior pass rush. Obviously there's going to be some development that has to take place, but he's somebody that's going to provide a burst from the inside. And that's really hard to find at the NFL level. It's valuable and it doesn't come around very often. That's why you saw whenever Tom Brady had some of his not so successful games in the playoffs, it was because of interior pass rush, but you don't find those guys very often. You don't find a Chris Jones or an Aaron Donald or an Osa Odighizuwa for the Dallas Cowboys. They're just not growing on trees out there. But if you can find a guy that can slide in as your three technique, that, outside defense, not the outside defense tackle, but somebody that can play in between the guard and the tackle, and he can do all your twists, all your stunts. He can do everything that you need him to do. It's going to be hard to find. And I think this is going to be a good draft for Oklahoma. You're going to see R. Mason Thomas go in the second round. I think you're going to see Grayson Halton go in anywhere in the second and third round. I could see Owen Heineke going third, fourth. They're going to have a lot of players drafted. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a very successful NFL draft period for the Oklahoma Sooners. That's why he's one of the more important pieces that they have to replace. Now, thankfully, they've got a guy like David Stone that's ready to step into the starting lineup and be an impactful three technique defensive tackle for them. But then it's like, okay, who's that next guy? Who's coming up right behind Stoney and going to be a part of that defensive tackle rotation? That's a key question for me. Is it going to be Nigel Smith? Is it going to be Trent Wilson? Do we see a Brian Harris step out as a true freshman and provide some interior help for Oklahoma in 2026? We'll see. But that's where one of those key question marks comes this spring and throughout the offseason, is who steps up and steps into that role. Remember, it took Grayson Halton a few years to really solidify himself and find himself as a dude that they could rely on every single game. And then once they found him, he was good to go. Now, can they fast track that a little bit? He set the example. David Stone is next. Well, who's next after David Stone? Because they got to find a guy. Having those four defensive tackles be able to rotate and nobody play more than 400 snaps or more than 450, 500 snaps, that's huge to keep everybody fresh and at their peak. And that's what allowed Grayson Halton to be so successful, is he didn't have to do it all himself. He didn't have to play 600-700 snaps. He was able to stay fresh when he got out on the field and be a dynamic difference maker for the Oklahoma Sooners defensive line. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. You can follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. And you can follow Jay at Unfair Sports and go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, for more Oklahoma Sooners coverage. But until next time, I'm John Williams. Again, go check out the Everydayer Club at lockedonsooners.supercast.com. Until next time, Boomer Sooner.